guys, welcome to my channel. Today I am doing a March wrap-up and April TBR. I'm going to be using my little TBR jar for the TBR this month. I didn't do that last month, but I have less planned this month, so we're good to go with it. But first we have to go over what I read in March. So off of the TBR that I made, I had a series of 6 books called the Mediator series by Meg Cabot. I read the first book. It's a reread, so it's not like I've never read them before and I just read the first one and didn't like it and stopped. I read the first one and then remembered exactly what happened in all of the books and didn't feel like rereading them. So I didn't. First book, as always, is like a good solid read. I mostly read it for the nostalgia. It's not necessarily like a great book. So I'm gonna say that's like a 3.5 star read for me. For me, 3 stars is like average, 4 stars is good, and 5 stars is like I couldn't put it down. It was amazing. It made me cry. It made me feel whatever it was intending to make me feel, so that's where I'm coming from with that. I know everybody kind of rates differently using different criteria, so that's where I'm coming from with that. Another thing that was on my TBR for March is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I do still have my copy of from the library. I was able to renew it, so it's not due for another couple of weeks, but I didn't finish it. I got like almost 100 pages in. I think I'm on page like 70 something, and then I just like wasn't in the mood to read at all. So I did not end up finishing that one, but I am still planning on finishing it in April. I'm carrying it over. It's not going to be a part of my like official TBR for this month. Things that I read off of my TBR were included Off to the Races by Elsie Silver, which is like a cowboy romance, kind of. Not really. I was looking for a cowboy romance and I found Elsie Silver books, and I was like, you know, people talk about Elsie Silver's writing a lot and they really like her books, and I can totally see why. This one was about a woman whose name I forget all of their names. I read this a while ago at this point, and she's a horse trainer. She's really good for her age, especially. She's like younger, like probably around my age, maybe a little bit younger, you know, mid to late 20s, I think, don't quote me on that. And she moves back to the US. She was overseas, and to Canada. She was overseas. They live in Canada, I believe, and has this little kind of rivals to friends to lovers thing with her boss, essentially the guy who owns the ranch now, and they're both dealing with similar but different things in life as far as like outside of their connection, and I don't really remember all the details clearly because it was a while ago. I don't even remember their names, but I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars, rounded up to 4 on Goodreads, because Goodreads does not let us do half stars. Goodreads, I'm begging you to add that in, please. And then I read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, so sorry if that's wrong, which is about Florence Day and her editor Ben. It doesn't say his name on the back of the book, but it's about Florence and Ben. I'm pretty sure that's his name. Yeah, Ben. So it is a paranormal romance. In this one, it's very clear from the beginning that they're probably gonna fall in love, but Florence can see ghosts, she can talk to ghosts, and she usually avoids doing so. In living in the city, it's a lot easier to avoid them. Her parents own a funeral parlor, and her dad dies at the beginning of the book. She was really close with her dad. He could also see ghosts. She goes back for his funeral, and he left some like really weird things that he wanted to have at his funeral, and then while she's there, her new editor Ben, because she's a ghostwriter for a really popular romance author, and her new editor Ben, who she had met right before she left, shows up as a ghost. So they have to solve that why he won't move on, solve the mystery of like why he's not moving on, while she's trying to deal with the grief of losing her father. Dead Romantics I gave 4 stars. I read Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren, and I gave it 4 stars. So Love in Other Words is a contemporary romance about Macy and Elliot. Is kind of like a second chance romance, and she is also dealing with parents who died. And it's told in like a dual timeline way. It's all from Macy's POV, but it alternates between now and 11 years ago, and then the 11 years ago like catches up with when they stopped talking. Macy and Elliot stopped speaking to each other, and then they happen to see each other in a cafe in the city that they live in. So they start talking again. He like insists that they try to be friends, and I really enjoyed the book. I didn't want to stop reading it, so yeah, 4 stars, not 5 stars, sorry, 4 stars, and would recommend to a friend. The last thing I read this month, and it took up most of my reading time to be honest, is a fan fiction called The Debt of Time by Shea Alani on Archive of Our Own. I'm sure you've noticed that by now. When I talk about fan fiction, I'm often talking about Harry Potter fan fiction. This is no exception. Typically, it's Hermione, which is Draco and Hermione. This one is Hermione and Sirius Black. And I know that sounds wrong, but there's time travel involved. So it's not like they're falling in love when he's an adult and she's a teenager, and it would be illegal for them to do anything about it. There is like a little bit of tension, but it's because of the time travel element, and it's one of my favorite fan fictions. But I don't rate fan fictions anymore because that's not really fair. They're not published. They don't have the editing team that books have. They do it for free, and they do it for our enjoyment. So when I enjoy a fan fiction, I might talk about it, but I'm never going to rate them against published books. I really enjoyed The Dead of Time. It is extremely long. I had it downloaded onto my Kindle to read it, and I think my Kindle said it would take me almost 30 hours to read it when I started. So keep that in mind if you decide to read it, but it's basically like 4 books in one, and it's even split up into books. It's just all one file if you download it, one story if you're on AO3 looking for it. That said, let's get into the TBR. I'm gonna do 5 books. Realistically, I don't usually stick to my TBRs, as you heard from me talking about it just now. I don't really stick to my TBRs often, but I'm gonna try. So, very festive, orange. So, first up we have a hardcover. What do I have as a hardcover? I have put this book on my TBR quite a few times since I started this channel, which was not that long ago, 6 months maybe, and I haven't been consistent, I'm aware of that. But I am going to put Saints of the Household by Ari Tyson on my April TBR again. I hope I actually get to it this time. I have actually been looking at it a lot and being like, oh, I really want to read that right now. Hopefully I'll actually get to it this time. Book number 2. Well, that looks like a long prompt. A book that feels like this month. Okay, so a book that feels like spring. Book that feels like spring. I have to check also my library holds and see if there's anything in there. Okay, it's not in yet, but it's said about 2 weeks for a little bit now, so it should be in soon. I have a hold on Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, so I think I'm gonna do that for a book that feels like this month, because I feel like it's gonna be pretty springy. There's lots of flower stuff. I mean, look at that. Looks like spring, right? And then we'll focus. Yeah, that looks like spring to me. I don't know about you, but it looks like spring to me. Book number 3. Under 400 pages. That's not hard for me. Most of my books are under 400 pages, I think. question is, what is on my TBR still? Okay, so again, stuck in my lip gloss. For under 400 pages, we're going to go with Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brodie, which is a historical fiction set in the 70s, starting in 1969. But it is, I think, kind of along the same lines as Daisy Jones and the Six, which I never read. But I think that's mostly just in the historical setting and the fact that they are musicians. I don't actually know what Daisy Jones and the Six is about. Book number 4. Oh, they're all stuck together. There's 2 of them. Okay. Book title is a song title. Well, it is almost a song title. It doesn't have to be exact. Do I have any that I haven't read that are song titles? I do. The other one that I was just looking at reading. Alright, guess we're doing 2 historical fiction. For book title is almost a song title, we're gonna go with All the Pretty Places by Joy Calloway. And the specific song that I am thinking of for this that actually kind of reminds me of the cover of this book at least is Pretty Places by Allie and AJ, which the chorus includes All the Pretty Places as like the main lyric. So that's what I think of every time I see this book. I think it's kind of why I bought this book, to be honest with you. It's based loosely on the life of her author's great-great-grandmother, which is kind of cool. And we're going to be doing that for book title is almost a song title. And if you haven't listened to that Allie and AJ song, I highly recommend the entire album. Actually, book number 5, the final book. Oh, that one's folded real good. Oh. Sister's Choice. So I'm gonna text my sister and see what she chooses. Hopefully she responds quickly. The book that my sister has chosen, which I'm not gonna go get because it's up in her room and I don't know where, and she has her book set up very specifically, I'm not gonna go ruin it, is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which I have no idea what it's about. But she rated it 5 stars when she read it. A couple people I followed also have rated it 4 or 5 stars. Overwhelmingly good reviews. So it's a YA fantasy. That is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I would love to hear what you are currently reading or what's on your TBR for this month if you want to share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see y'all next week. Okay, bye.